I'm so excited at what Samsung did this year. After they didn't release an FE version of the Tab S8, they released not one but two FE versions of the newer Tab S9 lineup. So let's talk about how they compare, the interesting differences in battery life, whether either one of these is actually worth getting, and thank you to Best Buy for sponsoring a portion of this video. So overall, these are two very similar tablets, and one of the most important differences is size. The Tab S9 FE is smaller with a 10.9-inch display. The FE Plus comes with a larger 12.4-inch display, so naturally it's larger and heavier, but it's not any thicker. Now, the two tablets have a similar design with a full aluminum frame and back, and I love that Samsung was able to bring IP68 rating down to the FE version, giving both tablets protection from water and dust. Now, this is great if you take your tablet with you to work or when you travel, but it's also a super nice feature if you're using it around the house and you have a dog that likes to throw toys up in the air and also has a super aggressive tail. Now, both tablets offer face recognition for biometric authentication and a more secure fingerprint sensor, which is integrated into the power button. Now, the fingerprint sensor on the FE models has worked great for me, but it's just a little less convenient than the under-display sensor on the flagship models. Both tablets also have a microSD card slot, so we can upgrade the internal storage by up to 1 terabyte, and we can use that storage for photos, for videos, for files, and for most apps. Now, continuing to look around the edges, we're getting 2 AKG tuned speakers on both tablets, and while the flagship models come with 4 speakers and sound fuller, the FE models are not too shabby if you're someone who actually uses the speakers on their tablet. Now, going back to the display, both tablets have an IPS LCD display which offers a 90 Hz adaptive refresh rate. The FE model has a low resolution but a slightly higher pixel density, and realistically, you aren't really going to notice that difference in terms of sharpness. Now, I like the higher resolution and the larger display on the FE Plus because I'm able to see more without having to scroll, and it's better for multitasking. But of course, you're giving up on portability, and there are also some implications in terms of gaming, which we'll talk about later on. Now, both tablets have an aspect ratio of 16:10, so they're excellent for watching content. And in terms of image quality, both are very good for LCD displays. And if you're looking for an even better display, you can check out the Tab S8 Plus or the Tab S8 Ultra with their dynamic AMOLED display, or jump to the current flagship Tab S9 models with their dynamic AMOLED 2X displays. Now, when it comes to gaming, it's important to consider the fact that these are not flagship models. So part of what you're giving up is performance. Now, I was able to play my usual games like Genshin, Asphalt, PUBG, and then of course some less demanding games, but there's an obvious difference in both processing power and GPU performance when compared with the flagship models, and it did have an impact on more resource-intensive games. The two FE models performed about the same, and we'll quickly go over benchmarks in the performance section, but there's no question that Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chip in the flagship models is more capable than the Exynos 1380 in the FE versions. Using PUBG as an example, with the FE model, I was limited to high frame rate, whether graphics were set to smooth, balanced, or HD, and that was as good as it got, so I definitely couldn't get to 90 FPS. With the flagship models, gameplay was smoother and more responsive, and I could play with graphics set to smooth and frame rate set to 90 FPS. I could also set graphics anywhere from balanced to HDR and frame rate to extreme, or Ultra HD for graphics and Ultra for frame rate. When playing Genshin Impact, I had a very similar experience where it was playable on the FE models, but it was much more fluid and less laggy on the flagship models. Again, because of the more capable processor and the additional RAM. Now, the FE Plus model does come with either 2 or 4 more gigs of RAM than the FE model, depending on which storage option we're comparing, and we'll cover that in the configuration section. Either way, if more demanding games are a priority for you, then keep in mind that we know game developers are always going to push the CPU and GPU, and games are going to evolve and start to demand more and more resources. When I look to keep a device for at least 4 to 5 years, I'm always going to opt for the tablet that has better CPU and GPU performance than I need right now, and that way I know that it will continue to perform better in the future. Now, something else to consider is the size of the display. The FE Plus is bigger, so it's easier to see someone sniping at you from a distance, but the FE model is smaller and lighter, so it's more comfortable to hold and play for longer periods of time. If you want to stream and play Xbox games with the Xbox Game Pass app, you can pair an Xbox controller with both tablets and have extremely smooth gameplay as long as you have a reliable internet connection. I would give the edge to the FE Plus model because of the larger display. Now, both tablets start out with 128 gigabytes of storage and have a 256 gigabyte model, so there's no advantage in terms of space for games. And remember that you can use the micro SD for additional inexpensive storage, which is a great deal. And speaking of that, if you're looking for great deals on new tech, check out today's sponsor, Best Buy, where you can get a 512 gigabyte Samsung Pro Plus micro SD card for $40. And when you use the app, you get a first look at Best Buy drops, which means you're getting better savings on hot or limited inventory products. Best Buy has great prices and a price match guarantee, and my Best Buy members get exclusive offers on thousands of products. Like, check out this 65-inch 4K TV. It's originally $12.99, but my Best Buy members get $200 off. Or you can take $70 off the book cover keyboard slim for the Tab S9 FE Plus. On top of that, if you shop in store, you can just have a blue shirt, scan your digital member ID from the app, and all your in-store purchases are attached to your My Best Buy account. So if you want to save some money on a gift or something for yourself, make sure to download the Best Buy app now for great deals, and thank you to Best Buy for sponsoring this portion of the video. Now back to the tablets. Another factor to consider is the ability to expand the functionality of each tablet by adding a keyboard case and a stylus. Now, both tablets are compatible with two versions of the book cover keyboard from Samsung. In that context, I prefer the FE Plus because it's larger and more comfortable to type on. And of course, you can always use an external Bluetooth keyboard instead. Now, both tablets also come with a free S Pen, which can be stored on the side or on the back of the tablet, but these are not Bluetooth enabled S Pens like the ones that come with the flagship models. In terms of the actual writing experience, it's going to be the same with both tablets, and the only practical difference here is the larger canvas on the FE Plus model. Now, looking at the camera systems, both have an 8 megapixel rear-facing camera and a 12 megapixel selfie camera. So here's a quick sample. Here's a camera and microphone test of the Tab S9 FE and the Tab S9 FE Plus. This should give you a pretty good idea of the type of image quality that you're going to get and the type of audio quality that you should expect from both tablets. We talked about performance in the gaming section, so let's quickly look at the single and multi-core performance of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 and the Exynos 1380, so you can see the differences between the FE and the flagship models. We also see a significant difference in GPU performance, which helps explain some of the differences we saw when gaming. Now, this is not to say that the FE models are not a good value. If you're surfing the web, watching video, or going on social media, you'll definitely be able to use these tablets, and even for light gaming or for note-taking and other typical tasks, these will work great. Of course, for more demanding things like photo and video editing, or for more demanding games, the flagship models are more capable. But I always encourage you to keep in mind what you plan on doing and not buy products based on somebody else's needs. Both tablets run the latest Android and One UI, so you're getting all the latest features like 3-tiled apps, pop-up windows, and then of course Dex, which is awesome. So essentially it reboots the tablet and gives you an operating system that is very similar to a desktop OS. You're getting a taskbar, a desktop with icons, multiple windows, you can snap windows, and you can use a keyboard case to transform your tablet to more of a laptop replacement. You can also connect an external keyboard and mouse for a better user experience, but you can't connect an external display and run a dual display setup with either the FE or the FE Plus. That's only available on the flagship models. You can, however, use both of these tablets as an additional display for your laptop or desktop with Samsung's second screen. This is a super handy feature when you travel. As far as OS and security updates, Samsung promises 4 years of OS updates and 5 years of security updates, which I think is great. In terms of battery life, the FE model has a smaller 8,000 mAh battery versus 10,090 on the FE Plus, and I was super curious to know how that would play out considering the differences in the display sizes. Now, in my test, I found that the larger battery on the FE Plus lasts longer, even though it has to power the bigger display. And if you want more information, check out this detailed battery drain test of the entire Tab S9 lineup. Now, both tablets offer 45-watt fast charging, but neither ships with an adapter, so that's something that you're going to need to purchase separately. Now, when we look at configuration options, both start out with 128 gigabytes of internal storage. The Tab S9 FE comes with 6 gigs of RAM, and the FE Plus comes with 8 gigs of RAM. If we upgrade to 256 gigabytes on both models, then we're getting 8 gigs of RAM on the Tab S9 FE and then 12 on the FE Plus. Now, I didn't notice a major difference in performance between the two of them, but of course, all other things being equal, having more RAM is better, especially if you're multitasking. So ultimately, the choice comes down to the smaller, less expensive, and more portable Tab S9 FE versus the FE Plus, which has a larger display, is better for multitasking, has more RAM, and better battery life. Now you should check out the battery drain test. Hopefully this comparison was helpful. Click on my face to subscribe. You know what I always say, buy it nice or buy it twice. Good luck and see you soon.